Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Liang Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's stories. San Franciscans protested the authorization of use of force through robots. They cited concerns about militarizing the police and treatment of other citizens. Despite a large budget surplus, forecasters are saying the state is heading for a deficit in the coming years. That comes with increasing unemployment and a slowing economy. People gathered on the steps of San Francisco City Hall to protest against deadly police robots. They said the robots don't belong on the streets.
Politicians, advocates, and protesters on Monday called on San Francisco's Board of Supervisors to reject a city proposal to give city police the ability to use potentially lethal, remote-controlled robots in emergency situations. They held a news conference and demonstration in front of San Francisco City Hall.
And we wanted to send a clear message that people are opposed to this. I voted against it, and most people in San Francisco are strongly opposed to having robots that kill.
The Board of Supervisors voted 8-3 last week to grant police the option despite strong objections from civil liberties and other police oversight groups. Opponents said the authority would lead to the further militarization of a police force already too aggressive with poor and minority communities. The proposal comes back before the board for a second reading Tuesday, and opponents are hoping some of the supervisors who supported it last week will change their minds. The San Francisco Police Department said it does not have pre-armed robots and has no plans to arm robots with guns. But the department could deploy robots equipped with explosive charges to contact, incapacitate, or disorient violent, armed, or dangerous suspects.
Well, this is military weaponry that has no place in the San Francisco Police Department, and it's really a reckless proposal to allow police to use a robot to basically deliver deadly force through an explosive device. It makes us all less safe.
Supervisors amended the proposal Tuesday to specify that officers could use robots only after using alternative force or de-escalation tactics or concluding they would not be able to subdue the suspect through those alternative means. Only a limited number of high-ranking officers could authorize the use of robots as a deadly force option. San Francisco police currently have a dozen functioning ground robots used to access bombs or provide vision in low-visibility situations. Police officials said they were acquired between 2010 to 2017 and were never used to deliver an explosive device. The first time a robot was used to deliver explosives in the U.S. was in 2016, when Dallas police sent an armed robot that killed a hold-up sniper who had killed 5 officers in an ambush.
The San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted unanimously on Tuesday to explicitly ban the use of robots in such a fashion for now, and could allow it another time. Gas in Southern California dropped below $5 per gallon for the first time in nearly a year. That may give some needed price relief for drivers during the upcoming holiday season.
According to AAA, gas prices in Los Angeles County dropped to $4.97 on December 1st. That was the first time the average price was under $5 since March. Gas in the Golden State now averages $4.77 as of December 5th. That's down from a record high price of $6.49 on October 5th. Many other coastal counties, along with those near the Sierras, generally have the highest prices in the state. Low prices are mostly in the Central Valley, including Sacramento County. The lower cost comes as the national average gas prices also trended downward. It has been decreasing for over 3 weeks, down from the record set on June 14th at just over $5 per gallon. The national average sits at $3.40 as of December 5th. According to Mary Montgomery, a public relations specialist with the Automobile Club of Southern California, there are several reasons for the Golden State leading in gas prices. Those include California's limited refinery capacity, the high cost of importing gasoline, and the highest gas tax in the nation. The gas tax increased by 2.8 cents in July and now sits at 68 cents per gallon. Governor Gavin Newsom proposed suspending the gas tax earlier this year, but the legislation struck it down before May.
California house prices are decelerating in certain metropolitan areas. Here's a look at where prices are slowing down.
Real estate experts at Redfin published research at the end of November showing house price growth is slowing and even decreasing in several California metropolitan areas. They looked at year-over-year prices in February and October 2022. What they found was a large slowdown and even drop in some cities. San Jose had a 20% change in prices in February this year, but dropped to negative 1.6 by October. Oakland was growing by over 19% earlier this year, but prices were dropping by 0.6% a few months ago. Sacramento and Riverside also slowed significantly, down to 1.2% and 6.8% respectively. They had been at over 20% and 25% at the start of the year. The four cities made the top 10 list on Redfin's research. Only Austin, Texas and Phoenix, Arizona came in ahead of San Jose. Researchers cited work-from-home changes during pandemic lockdowns as a main driver for people leaving the cities. Other impacts are rising federal interest rates and faltering tech stocks. On the flip side, prices are starting to increase in East Coast and Midwest metro areas like Albany, New York, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
California's economy could be facing some challenges in the coming fiscal year. Reports show increasing unemployment and a slowing economy. Economists say the nation faces a similar situation on the federal level, as the economy shows what they describe as mixed signals. Here's more.
U.S. employers hired more workers than expected in November, but unemployment rates remained unchanged on the federal level. That's according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The U.S. Labor Department found that non-farm payrolls increased by 263,000 jobs last month.
I got a sense of deja vu with today's report because it was very similar to what we saw in October. We saw payroll gains were actually stronger than expected, but on the flip side, we saw the unemployment rate stayed up off of its expansion lows, and the labor force participation rate actually fell again. So we are getting some mixed signals from the economy right now, where some indicators are looking positive and some are starting to weaken.
Daniel Zhao is a lead economist at Glassdoor, an online platform that gathers and provides information on companies' salaries and jobs. He says employers are still looking to hire despite reports of layoffs and hiring freezes. But California, being the nation's most populous state, faces a slightly different situation. Unemployment rose, even though hiring increased for non-farm payrolls. Interest rates are also increasing, but the state is seeing an overall slowdown in economic growth. Economists call this troubling phenomenon stagflation, a combination of economic stagnation and inflation. But that's just for California.
Well, overall, we know that there are some headwinds facing the American economy, and there are concerns about a recession, especially in 2023. But the signals that we're getting from the job market, this doesn't look like a job market that is about to tip into recession. Overall, things still do look healthy there. Even though things are clearly cooling, they are clearly decelerating. The job market is still a bright spot for the economy.
Unemployment in the Golden State rose to 4% in October, compared to September's 3.8% unemployment.
We have seen some reports of prominent layoffs in the tech industry. So you have companies that hired very aggressively during the pandemic because they maybe misread some of these pandemic era trends as long-term sustainable changes, and now they just don't have the right size of their workforce for their business. That being said, we have to keep in mind that the tech sector is actually a pretty small segment of the American economy. So we aren't actually seeing those tech layoffs show up in the aggregate economic numbers.
Tech companies, including Twitter, Amazon, and Meta, the parent of Facebook, all announced thousands of job cuts this year. Zhao says reports show industries such as retail and transportation are also facing shifts in the size of their workforce.
Well, one weak spot in today's report was in retail and transportation and warehousing. So those sectors did actually lose jobs. And that's a little bit surprising as we headed into the holiday season. Now, those are seasonally adjusted numbers, but I think it indicates that businesses foresaw that consumers would be a little bit more conservative with their spending this holiday season, and so they weren't hiring quite as much as a result. Overall, the consumer spending numbers we've been seeing have been fairly healthy, but I think it is important to recognize that businesses seem to be pulling back on their hiring plans in these sectors. They seem to be reading the tea leaves and predicting that consumers are going to be a little bit more conservative with their spending moving forward.
Meanwhile, in terms of mortgage interest rates, California saw, on average, a 1.1% increase between June to December. According to the California Housing Agency, loan interest rates hover around 5.75% for December. Compared to June, rates sat around 4.62%. A similar rise in interest rates is taking place at the federal level.
I think the Fed looks at today's report and it doesn't really change their perspective about what the trajectory of the job market looks like. We did see wage growth tick up a little bit in November, and that might be a speed bump on the Fed's path towards a soft landing. But overall, they still see a job market that is resilient in the near term, but is decelerating.
Economists anticipate the federal government may continue a rise and hold approach to current interest rates as they wait and watch for inflation to start coming down. But in California, policymakers face what signs indicate could be stagflation, in addition to a projected budget deficit for the upcoming 2023 fiscal year.
We are going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. Police in LA made a string of arrests related to retail theft. They returned tens of thousands of dollars worth of merchandise to retailers. One of the last survivors of the Pearl Harbor attack during World War II spoke of a day of infamy. He also gave a response to all the people who call him and other members who were on the USS Arizona that day heroes. An iconic California burger chain, In-N-Out Burger, has released this year's ugly Christmas sweater. But unfortunately for Christmas, for people who don't have one already, they're already sold out. That and more on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Liang Zhang. The Los Angeles Police Department arrested over a dozen suspects in connection with several organized retail thefts valued at around tens of thousands of dollars. The department is now coordinating with the local offices to investigate.
LAPD arrested 18 suspects in connection to 4 organized retail thefts that took a combined $23,000. The suspects range in age from 15 to 20 and face charges of organized retail theft and grand theft. In addition to the arrests, police impounded 8 vehicles as well as recovered and returned the stolen merchandise to the retailers. The thefts occurred at shoe and clothing retail chain stores. 3 of the thefts occurred in the city of Los Angeles, while the other was in the city of Paramount. Police said the suspects are believed to be connected to 14 other incidents that caused the loss of $90,000. LAPD is coordinating its investigation with the County Sheriff's Department and the clothing retailers' loss prevention departments. Anyone with information on organized retail thefts is urged to call their nearest law enforcement agency.
The anniversary of Pearl Harbor attack during World War II is coming up. One of the last survivors living in Northern California recalled the day of infamy.
USS Arizona sailor Lou Conter lived through the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, even though his battleship exploded and sank after being pierced by 2 aerial bombs. That makes the 101-year-old somewhat of a current-day celebrity, especially on the anniversary of the December 7th, 1941 assault.
December 7th is a very big day, and the 2,403 military men that were killed that day should get the recognition above everybody. They gave their life and they gave the all. And of those 2,403 men who got killed, 1,177 were on the Arizona shipmates of mine.
Those who died on the Arizona account for nearly half of the military service members killed that day. Many refer to him, just like others in the nation's dwindling pool of Pearl Harbor survivors, as a hero. But Contra rejects the characterization.
So we're not heroes. They call us heroes, but we're not. The ones, the 2,403 men that died are the heroes, and we've got to honor them ahead of everybody else.
Contra lives in Grass Valley, California, north of Sacramento. For many years, he flew back to Hawaii to attend an annual remembrance ceremony on December 7th, honoring those killed.
I'd like to be there because there's only two of us still living from Arizona, and Ken Pott, myself. He lives in Provo, Utah, and his legs, he's 6 months older than I am, and his legs are not in good shape, and I talk to him every 2, 3, 4 weeks.
But his doctor has told him the 5-hour flight plus hours of waiting at airports is now too strenuous for him. So he will watch a video feed of this year's 81st anniversary observance from home.
Yeah, we'll be here. The family will all be here on the 7th. You know, we'll have we'll watch the ceremony on the TV and everything else.
Dozens of Pearl Harbor survivors in their 90s and a few centenarians managed to make the pilgrimage as recently as right before the pandemic. But the U.S. Navy and the National Park Service anticipate only one survivor will likely attend in person on Wednesday. Another 20 to 30 veterans of World War II are expected to be there.
It's going to be a sad day, but he's an American hero. You know, not only he's an American, he's my hero. You know, so it's pretty cool.
Contra likes to remind people when talking about Pearl Harbor that the attack lasted a mere few hours, while World War II lasted for another 4 years. Contra went to flight school after Pearl Harbor. He flew 200 combat missions in the Pacific with the Black Cat Squadron, which conducted dive bombing at night in planes painted black. One night in 1943, he and his crew had to avoid a dozen or so nearby sharks after they were shot down near New Guinea. When one sailor expressed doubt they would survive, Contra responded, "Baloney." He says to never panic in any situation and just survive. They were quiet and treaded water until another plane came and dropped them a lifeboat hours later. In the late 1950s, he was made the Navy's first SEER officer, which is an acronym for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. He spent the next decade training servicemen on how to survive if they're shot down in the jungle and if they're captured as a prisoner of war. Some of his pupils used his instruction to survive through years of being POWs in Vietnam.
In-N-Out Burger released the 3 ugly Christmas-themed sweaters. They are receiving great feedback from their customers.
California-based regional fast food restaurant In-N-Out Burger released a new ugly Christmas sweater in late November, and they're already sold out. The new sweater is titled Spread the Love. It displays cartoon French fries decorating a tree with all In-N-Out themed trimmings. Additionally, In-N-Out has debuted 2 other Christmas-themed sweaters for their holiday collection. In-N-Out spokeswoman Kathleen Hardesty told the Epoch Times, quote, "We've received some great feedback from customers who have already begun to wear their sweater during the holiday season."
Now let's check in with NTD's Thomas Christian for today's Sports Roundup.
I'm Thomas Christian, giving you the California Today Sports Roundup.
27-year-old Baker Mayfield was claimed off waivers by the LA Rams and is now expected to become their starting quarterback on a quarterback depth chart in flux. Rams starter Matthew Stafford is effectively out for the season between a nasty neck injury and the Rams' terrible record. Stafford's backup John Wolford was also out dealing with a neck injury, and the Rams have been rolling out third-stringer Bryce Perkins in the meantime. Mayfield was most recently waived by the Carolina Panthers on Monday and could play as soon as Thursday in the Rams matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders. Last Sunday, the San Francisco 49ers thought they lost their backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo to a broken ankle for the rest of the season. They'd already lost starter Trey Lance with another ankle injury and now have to find a solution at QB to play their final 5 games of the season. Today, news broke that Garoppolo will be able to return in 7 to 8 weeks, but that still means a huge hole at quarterback until his return. Most teams in this position would give up and pack it in for the season, but the 49ers are 8-4, leading their division and only 2 wins away from a playoff berth. Their defense is playing at a historic level, and they have a wealth of elite playmakers all over their offense. Currently, the quarterback depth chart consists of 36-year-old Josh Johnson, who San Francisco signed late Sunday night, and the rookie who was picked dead last in the 2022 NFL Draft, Brock Purdy. Purdy entered the game against the Dolphins and piloted the 49ers the rest of the way, but neither he nor Johnson have what it takes to win multiple playoff games for an otherwise elite SF squad. Alternatives to starting Purdy include retired 40-year-old veteran Phillip Rivers, who is currently coaching high school football, and 33-year-old Cam Newton, who has been a free agent this whole season, reportedly waiting for just the right moment to make a comeback. The 49ers have a pretty weak last 5 games of the season, but there is still an immediate need to make a decision at the quarterback position. Either commit to Brock Purdy and live with the results, or do everything in their power to land a more qualified candidate before the losses pile up. Indiana's Andrew Nembhard continued a memorable California swing with a personal 8-point flurry as part of a late 13-2 burst that allowed road-weary Indiana to shock Golden State in San Francisco. Nembhard finished with a season-best 31 points. Jordan Poole scored 23, and Klay Thompson paced the Warriors with 28 points, shooting 8 for 16 on 3-pointers. Stephen Curry shot a dismal 3 of 17 and finished with just 12 points. Pacers 112, Warriors 104. Kawhi Leonard's jumper from about 18 feet away broke a tie with 1.4 seconds left, and Los Angeles pulled out a victory against host Charlotte in a back-and-forth game. Paul George poured in 19 points, and Leonard, who scored the tying basket on the Clippers' previous possession, finished the game with 16 points. It was both players' first game back in the lineup after missing time with injuries. Clippers 119, Hornets 117.
And that's all for sports.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.